Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to my book below. This video is about why extroversion doesn't mean that a person is a censor. I hear a lot of people in real life and even online argue that if they meet an individual and this person is animated and seems energized at being in crowds, that this person is automatically a censor, and that they themselves may be an intuitive because they're more subdued, they're more obviously introverted, and they might be more, they say, empathetic. So no, it's not the case, in the sense that a person is a censor because they have a beta brainwave dominance when they are awake. An intuitive has an alpha or theta brainwave dominance when they are wide awake. About 85% of the world population are censors. So when you meet a person, they're more likely a censor than an intuitive. Intuitives are essentially the anomaly. And I'm going to put below a link to a video that gives you a long list of characters of intuitives so that you know if you are part of that group. Now, a person who's a censor is more likely to have a mental illness because if you take someone who has a beta brain dominance and you put them in a natural environment, which is the urban modern lifestyle, is that constant stress speeds up their brain waves, and that actually has a negative impact on their resting breathing rate because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. For example, if a person's dominant brain wave is like 15 cycles per second, you'll see that their resting breathing will be 15 breaths per minute. So what happens is that people in that sort of environment end up hyperventilating to the mouth. So you'll see that most people, most adults, don't have a normal jaw. So in other words, their tongue doesn't rest on the roof of their mouth because they're mouth breathing. The jaw is not well shaped because the tongue shapes the upper jaw, so you end up with an undeveloped jaw, and when the second set of teeth grow, they go crooked. So that's why you see so many people who don't have space for 32 straight teeth, because most people are censors. So based on that, you already know if you meet a person and you know their teeth are crooked, most likely a censor. Now the other aspect also is that because of the fact that their breathing rate, their resting breathing is not at its optimal, then the brain is not receiving enough oxygen, so then they end up with a mental illness. So most people, when they have a mental illness, it's really based on the fact that there's not enough oxygen going to their brain. So for all these reasons, that's why crooked teeth and mental illness is so prevalent, because most people are censors. So in other words, as a person's dominant brainwave is slower and slower, and this person is more and more of an intuitive, they're more likely to have 32 straight teeth and not have a mental illness. So if we go back to the original point, is that out of the 16 MBTI personality types, 8 of them are censors and 8 of them are intuitives. Out of the 8 censors, 4 of them are extroverts and 4 are introverts. So in other words, you can meet a person and they may come across as introverts, but they are still censors, and that is a very sort of confusing sort of topic I see. So a lot of people who are introverts, they meet an extrovert, say, oh well, this person must be a censor. Well, they are themselves censors. So all this is that there's a lot of confusion out there. So yes, you can be a censor and still behave as an introvert, and you can be an intuitive and be officially an extrovert. When it comes to introversion, extrovert has to do with how the person recharges. So yes, intuitives, because they have better energy than censors, will behave more like introverts, even though officially they're extroverts. But you can meet censors who are introverts and need to be alone to actually recharge, but it's not to the degree of intuitives who are also introverts. I wanted to clear this up because I meet a lot of people who are introverts and censors who believe that if they meet a person who is very extroverted, and especially if this person is a thinker, well, they must be censors while they are intuitives. But it's not the case. In other words, when you meet a person, most likely they are censors and they can be either introverts or extroverts. And interesting enough is that if a person is an intuitive, yes, overall they will behave more like introverts, but you can still see degrees of it, because obviously you have some personality types that need more time to recharge. For example, if you're an INFJ or an INFP, especially if you're a feeler, that's even more pronounced, but you can still see this behavior in sensors. So I trust that this information has clarified this concept of whether someone is a sensor or an intuitive, and the difference between an extrovert and an introvert. So let me know if you like this video, if you learned something. Please click on the like button. Also remember to click on the notification bell to be notified of other videos I'm going to be making. Subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.